Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this very first WhaleTech Masterclass of 2025. It's very exciting to have you all here, especially because we have a very nice topic to tackle today, and with a very interesting speaker, whom I'm going to talk about a bit later. Letting time for people to connect, I'm quickly going to show you around the platform that we're using today. This platform is pretty user-friendly. You just have a couple of tabs on the bottom right of your screen that you can use. You can use the chat to say hello, say where you come from, what you're expecting for today. If you have some comments during the presentation as well, you can type in the chat easily. For your questions, we have a specific questions tab that you can use, which is very interesting because you can upvote other people's questions. And when we do take the question at the end of the webinar, we will be taking them in order of how many upvotes they have. So it's very easy for us to know which ones are more interesting to you guys and then to enter them in order. And lastly, you can have one or two polls going on in the polls tab to which you can answer by clicking on the answer that you feel like is the one that you want to give. And yeah, that's basically the three tabs that you need to worry about during this webinar. I will also take a minute to talk about Eversense. So first of all, I'm Katia. I'm Events and Content Manager at Eversense. And I'll be hosting this webinar today. So if you don't know about Eversense, very quickly, we are a French software editor in the rail freight industry. So we have developed a software that's called a TVMS, which is a Transportation Visibility and Management System. And our goal is to enable shippers and the partners to fully digitize their rail freight transport processes from order to invoicing. So it's really end-to-end process. We have clients from different industries all over Europe. So if you want to know more about us, you can go and check out our website, which is brand new, by the way. So it's pretty cool. So you should definitely go and check that out. This webinar is a part of the WhaleTech community, which is a community that we're building around rail freight professionals. So you guys can meet and exchange knowledge. And these webinars are really a part of it, to have experts of their own field come and share the knowledge with you. And then you can ask questions during this time as well. So before we dive into who's speaking today, just a quick info about the webinar. It's going to be around 45 minutes long, including questions at the end. And then you will all receive an email with interesting content that was shared, and also the replay of the webinar. It should be sent either today or tomorrow latest. So you can have it and then watch it again, or share it if you want to share it to some other people. Okay, who do we have today for the very first WhaleTech Masterclass of 2025? So we are welcoming Tilly. Tilly Mesfi is a member of the European Parliament, and she's here today to talk to us about the railway infrastructure capacity regulation. So Tilly, if you can just take a minute to introduce yourself to our audience, and then I will speak a bit more, and then it will be your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you this morning. And indeed, so I'm coming from Luxembourg, and I'm the rapporteur of the regulation on capacity management for the EU. So very happy to speak a little bit about what we need to do in the rail sector to make it more efficient, and of course to hear from you and to get your input and your questions and your remarks. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So speaking of the topic of the day, it's a pretty crucial topic for the future of European rail freight in terms of how to manage the capacity of the rail networks. And it poses one big question, which is should we manage and operate this capacity in cooperation with all the other member countries, or should each country, make it on its own? Currently the welfare infrastructure, we know that it's the backbone of our operations. If you don't have rails, then you can't do anything. But it's not enough on its own. It's really important to have efficient and reliable rail freight management as well. We know that, of course, there are still delays and some lack of coordination sometimes on capacity restrictions, and obviously cross-border challenges within the EU. And so this ability to optimize the rail freight management and the rail freight operations is truly, truly critical. And that's why we're speaking about this regulation today. I also wanted to just take a minute to make sure that everyone is okay with all the EU institutions that exist, because I know there are quite a few and sometimes it can get confusing. So I just wanted to underline these three because I think we're going to speak a lot about them. And so everyone is certain of who's doing what, and it's clear in everyone's mind. So the first one, the European Parliament, it's the body that represents the people within the EU. I'm sure you all went to vote for someone and to have your members in the Parliament. So that's what Chile is. You also have the Council of the European Union. This body represents the governments, and it's composed of ministers from each state, which ones depend on the topic that you're talking about. If you're having an agricultural topic, then you're going to have ministers from agriculture from every country that's going to sit in the council. And lastly, you have the European Commission, which is the executive body of the European Union, and it's composed of 27 members, and each one of them is appointed by its own country, and they have to truly have the interests of the European Union at heart and be completely independent from their own country as much as possible. So yeah, just to have everyone with the same knowledge here. Let's move on to our topics. Chile, back to you. Could you briefly then explain the main goals of this regulation that we're talking about, the railway infrastructure capacity regulation, and also why it's critical for the future of rail freight in Europe?
Okay, so I hope you also see the PowerPoint today. Yes, okay, so that's fine. Yeah, first of all, so to say it in a very short way, this regulation addresses indeed the weak points or the weaknesses of the current process, and it's about really the management of the rail infrastructure capacity and the traffic to really change from an approach that is now annual and manual and also national rather approach to a more flexible and digital and European approach. So that is really the main challenge, to have really this European view also on the rail network in Europe. So at the very short time, what we will achieve normally to this regulation is to have an increase of capacity without direct investment of 4% of the capacity. So would it be for the freight and for the passenger? So it's really to optimize the management and the infrastructure capacity that we have right now. But it's not only about quantity, it's all because you might say, okay, what is 4%? But if you think 4% without really needed immediate investment, it's already not bad. But it's not only about quantity. It's really also about quality in general, to make really the rail sector more attractive and more flexible. And therefore, we need also to improve the coordination, especially for the cross-border, because we know that for the freight sector, if we look at intermodal trains, more than 90% are cross-border, and for the freight in general, 50% are cross-border. So we need to improve the coordination. We need to have it more seamless, also regarding crossing the borders. And we want to make the rail traffic more reliable. So punctuality is important, reliability is important. So it's also about making the rail sector more competitive, more attractive. So that is, in a short way, what we really aim to do. And to achieve this, of course, we need not, and that is also to reply a little bit to your remark at the beginning, we need really this more harmonization in Europe and not this nationalistic approach. So that is very important. We need to come to more European rules and interoperability and harmonization. If you want, yeah. Yes. What I'm also can say, but these are what you see on the PowerPoint. I think that I addressed already. So the importance of quality and quantity. And if we look at the reports that we had coming, for example, from Draghi and also from Letta, so speaking about making the inner market more efficient or considering competitiveness of Europe, I think we need to give more flexibility and we need to have better functioning of the European supply chains. So that's why I mentioned here also the inner market question. But if I take now a larger view, I mean, everybody knows in the meantime that the transport sector is the sector where the CO2 emissions continue increasing. So if we want really to have common goals also in order to achieve our climate goals, we need to act in a more harmonized way together. So the challenging part in the rail sector is really that we know we have those tracks, and it's the same tracks that are used for passengers and for the freight sector. So that is very challenging. And right now we are a little bit in the logic, as I said already, it's more national, and at the national level, there is very often a prioritization for passenger. But if we look at the freight, as I said already, and you have the figures in front of you, the cross-border is key. So what we need to do is really to guarantee more coordination regarding this cross-border. We need to allow also a rolling planning. So that means that we reserve certain tracks in case there is a need from the freight sector. We need to come more to a customer-oriented approach, and yeah, that we really respond better to the needs that the freight really has. So also more market orientated, and that is how what you see also at the bottom of this slide. So to say it in a short, again, we need more increased flexibility in capacity allocation to the rolling planning, and we need more openness to what is really the ad hoc demands of the freight sector. I don't know how you want to proceed, because maybe it could be interesting if people have questions already right now, or do we leave it at the end? It's like you want. Or remarks, or...
We can probably leave it at the end. I do have a few questions of my own, to be honest, so we can keep the discussion going, and probably it's going to spark new questions from the audience, if that's all right with you.
Okay. Perfect. So that was to be very general, to speak about the aims of this regulation. I hope I replied to your first question.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very clear now for everyone what we're talking about and what are the truly what's at stake with this regulation. I know that, because I know the slides, I know that the next one is regarding how you're trying to renegotiate it and have it be implemented within the EU with the different bodies, etc. I know that there is a trilogue going on between the Commission, the Parliament, and the Council, which we also at the beginning. So maybe we can speak a bit about that. Like, what would the final version of this regulation, and like how this final version of this regulation could deliver improvements for rail freight. Like, does it have truly the ability to deliver these improvements, considering that there are probably going to be compromises? And yeah.
But what you see right now on the slide is what we call the legislative train, and you explain very well. So the Commission, which I always say it's like a European government, comes with a proposal, and then both the Council and the Parliament, the directly elected, but also the different ministers of the countries with their teams, work also on the file. Now we have the situation, and I'll be very honest with you where we are right now. We started the trialogue, so there has been a vote already at the level of the European Parliament, which is quite progressive and wants really this more European view and also more independence on the performance review, etc. So which would guarantee, of course, in my eyes, more efficiency of the whole European rail freight or the rail sector in general, not only freight, but also passenger. But now we have the situation that the position of the Council and the position of the Parliament so far is quite far apart in many aspects. But the positive note is we only started the trialogue right now. So we had the first trialogue, as you see on the slide, in November 2024. And now we will have a second trialogue in March 25. But in between, that is also important to say, there are a lot of technical meetings happening so that the teams of the Council, of the Parliament together, and also with the President of the Commission, work together. So the next trilogue will happen in March, and I hope that step by step we will come closer to each other, because right now, to say the Council general moves toward making these European rules like more unbinding and open also to national derogation. And there is really the risk that this will lead even to more fragmentation of the system and even a suboptimal exploitation of the available rail infrastructure capacity. So, and I think it will also not reply to the temporary capacity restrictions that we might have due to scarcity or to works that are be done. So what is important is really that we make now the Council move to a more European view. And therefore, what is one element that we also ask in this regulation, and when I say we, I speak the Parliament, and I must say the proposal of the Parliament, or the text of the Parliament, was really had in the last legislative period a huge support of really cross-party. So one of the elements, for example, we are asking for is also that we have reciprocal commercial conditions. So if a track is reserved or was reserved for a certain freight transport and then needs to be cancelled for works or whatever, then there is a compensation also for the companies or for the shippers. So, and another point that we are asking for is also that the entry into force, that we do not wait until 29, or even the Council wants even later for certain provisions. So we want, if we want to achieve that, the goals that we have for 2030, and this is an increase of the freight transport to rail of 50%, and for even double it for 2050, we need to have an implementation, an entry into force of this regulation even earlier. So we ask even to start by 2026 to implement that. But there also the Council is far away, as they want even to postpone it more. So as I said already, this risk of the position that the Council has right now, that would lead even maybe to more fragmentations and also to more national rules rather than harmonized European rules, that is something we need to work on now with the Council. But I think I'm very optimistic, first of all, because the sector is very supporting this regulation. On the other hand, the Commission's proposal and the Parliament's proposal, even if the Parliament's proposal is, in my eyes, even more progressive than the Commission proposal, is nevertheless very close. And really, the sector is really asking for this. And I must say, this whole regulation, and that was very interesting for me, is really a bottom-up movement. So the timetable redesign was something that was done and implemented and is already partially implemented by the sector now. So they gave the input for this regulation. So the sector is waiting for this. So I think all these arguments will also make move the council into the, if I may so say so, into the right direction. So it's not that they are completely closed. You might say, but why did they did that? Why did they? Maybe there was a lot of time pressure. That is one of my thoughts about it. Maybe there was a little bit of too much time pressure at the end of the Belgian presidency, and then this text of the council came out. So they wanted to advance, but unfortunately, in my eyes, they did not advance into the more Europe that we need, and especially need in the rail sector.
Yeah, you've been talking about the sector. That's really interesting to have that push from the sector truly to have that regulation. Is there any, let's say, any more push that could be done from the sector? For example, what type of role could shippers play in supporting your efforts and the Parliament's efforts to have that regulation truly deliver benefits for the rail freight industry, to make it more competitive, and as we know, we need to make it more attractive, especially considering all the environmental goals and ambitions that we have. Yeah, is there any more support that could be found from the sector?
Yes, I think the support. Oh, I hear my echo now. That's funny, but that's no problem. I think what is important for the shippers is first to follow up what is being done by their ministers and what the politicians are doing. So really to ask and also to write. I have an excellent letter that came from the freight sector that really is pushing into the right direction. So those initiatives like writing to the Commission and to the Council is very positive, because they aim the same than we do, if I may say that, when I say we, the Parliament. So I think it's very important that they raise their voice, that they reach out to the negotiators, that they continue also taking part to consultation, that they continue the advocacy work, and also providing the people working on the side of the Council on the file with real world insights. So I think that is very important, and also insist on why it is so important for the freight sector, but also for the passenger, that we have a more European view, that we have more independence in the performance review. So I think, yeah, and that we apply also more transparency and clear objective criteria when it comes to allocation of tracks in case of scarcity. So if we would implement there an objective and transparent criteria, and I'm thinking that of a criteria that we speak about, that we mention, of course, also in the regulation, which is the criteria of socioeconomic and environmental criteria. For example, if you have really a track that is asked as well by the passenger as by the freight, and maybe even a third actor coming in, which is for military needs, then we need really to analyze what is now the real importance on the socioeconomic, socially for the people, on the economic side, what is the most important, and on the environmental side. So we could have really a criteria, and this is implemented already in Sweden. So now we have to implement such sorts also step by step in general at the European level, to really have this objective and transparent criteria for all the stakeholders, would it be passengers and freight, and now also military, to understand why the allocation goes to this stakeholder and not to the other. So pushing for this transparency, pushing for clear criteria, pushing for more flexibility, and also real data, real life data, real world insights. I think that's all I would ask from the sector, to continue to make pressure in order to have that. And also, well, you might say that is more internal on the European institution level. You know, we have a European agency for aviation. We have a European agency for the maritime sector, for transport by maritime. And we have this European agency for the rail sector. But guess who is the one who gets the last resources, financial resources? Looking to the logic of our climate goal, or our competitiveness, it should be, of course, the European Rail Agency. But this is by far the agency that gets the less money. So if we want somebody also to help in the whole digitalization procedure, in this harmonization of the rule procedure, we need to give more resources to this agency. And we should even, but that maybe goes too far, we need to change the whole framework. We need now to be in the situation to prioritize the rail sector compared to the road sector, compared to aviation. It's not what we are doing right now. So for me, it's time to have coherent and also brave politics in order to achieve our goals in competitiveness, in the climate sector, yeah, and also to improve, as I said already, the inner market, the fluidity, the chains, the supply chains in Europe.
Yeah, I noticed that you've been talking about collaboration, digitization, truly have like the move as one, let's say, and transparency as well. This brings me to a topic that's quite important, like for us as software editors, for example, in the in this sector, and also in our goal to make rail freight operations easier and more accessible to everyone. I know that the regulation mentions data sharing and data transparency as well. How do you see it being addressed, like in this final regulation? How could it truly have an impact to optimize this supply chain? This is going to be my last question, then we'll move on to the ones from the audience.
Yeah, of course, the whole system of the ERTMS, for example, and also I could also mention another system for the coupling of the wagons, the DAC system, everything that makes cross-border and the whole rail transport more seamless and more efficient. And you mentioned it, of course, if we have real data from the real-time information, for example, also on works, on capacity, on traffic, and this goes also through digitalization to better digitalization systems, we can react better, we can react quicker, we can find solution also quicker. I always mention, for example, if we know that there are some not foreseen works that have been done on the German tracks, I'm coming from Luxembourg, maybe if we have more a European view, we could say, okay, but we can make a little loop to Luxembourg, but at least the freight goes on if it has to go to south of France or whatever. So that's why I think we need this digitalization and we need this European view. If the DAC system is now the best system or not, that is another discussion. I know that some people might be critical also to that, but in general, we need more digitalization in order to have more harmonization, to have more real-time information, to have more transparency on the data and also on the decision that are taken. And as I said already several times, we need this more European view also in the rail sector. So digitalization is important, and for the digitalization harmonization, I don't know if I said it already, we need this European Rail Agency which has already right now in his mission the the objective of guaranteeing this harmonization of the digitalization systems through Europe. So this is already right now something they have, this European Rail Agency has in its mission, and they should play also a key role in supporting this transition to more digitalization, because it would make the whole rail sector more efficient and more reliable and more flexible. All we need.
Exactly, all we need. It's reassuring to hear you speak about it, because we know that a lot of shippers, for example, are pushing toward more digitization in their transport, in their rail transport specifically. So we're all going towards the same direction, or at least trying to. So that's nice. I think it's time to move on. We have 15 minutes left. Let's move on to questions from the audience. We have quite a few. So thank you very much for that, guys. Let's go. So as I said, I'm going to go in order from upvotes. So we take the ones that seem to have the most interest first. So the first one is from Frederic. He's asking, how can two countries be forced to align their work because they don't have the same timetable and the infrastructure doesn't have the same wear and tear?
Yeah, so the question is, how can we force the countries, or what can we do? Considering that they have different level of infrastructure and of digitalization, is that the question, right? But
that's what I understand, yeah.
Yeah, so you must know, and this is not innocent from the Commission, this is a regulation, and sorry to make this little bracket now. So you have on the one side European regulation, and on the one side you have European directives. So two different legislation that have different impact on the country. But here it is really about a regulation. And what is a regulation? That is something that must be implemented immediately at the national level. On the other side, the directive, then it passes to national law in order to be implemented. But here is a regulation. So this capacity regulation must be implemented by the member states. So, and that is why I'm not happy with the position with the Council, who says, oh, these are just unbinding rules, they can choose to adapt them or not. No, the Commission here, so as I say, the European government wanted this to be regulation. So it's not, or it should not be binding. On the other hand, what the Council wants is national guidance. And I say, okay, I'm aware that there are specific needs regarding to the member state, and also specific situation. You cannot really compare the situation in Poland with the situation in France or whatever. So there are big differences. I'm totally aware of that. So that we have national guidance is a good thing. That we consider them is also important. It's not that I want to neglect that, but we need a European binding system and rules in order to make the whole system more efficient and more functioning. So that is what we aim to this regulation. Yes, we consider the national specificities, but we need a European framework in order to be more efficient regarding the allocation of tracks. So this is a regulation. So to reply to the answer, it must be implemented. But I know that regarding the infrastructure, there are big differences. That regarding digitalization, there are big differences. And that is another thing we ask in this regulation. We need more investments at the long term into the rail sector. But then your second question will certainly be, yeah, but where do we get the money from? Don't tell me. If we would apply the polluters payers principle and we would be coherent in our politics, we would have the money. But as long as we prioritize aviation and also the road, why do we come now with a directive where we allow gigaliners, so these very long trucks on the road? That makes me, and you might feel it, a little bit nervous and angry. So now is the time to be coherent and brave in our politics, brave because I think we need to make the change, but we have the solution And we would have the money if we would apply, for example, this polluter pays principle. Why there's no kerosene tax? Why there's no VTA, for example, on aviation? Why do we do not consider the real cost of the road traffic, of the road transport? So, and why do we have, I mean, if you are a company, and you know it much better than I do, and you have to pay for every kilometer of track that you use, we should reduce this charges on the track, because that is an important cost for the shippers, for the transport, for the freight sector in general. And this is need to be reduced. Let's be coherent. And in order to be coherent, we must not only create a level playing field between the rail, the aviation, and the road, but we must prioritize the rail sector, and we are far from doing it. And that is one of my fights here in the Parliament, is not only creating a level playing field, that would already be a first step, but to prioritize the rail sector. That's what we need to do. And it's not only a crazy green here saying that, but it's also Letta and Draghi in their respective reports who are asking that. Both of them are saying we need to decarbonize the transport sector. What is decarbonizing the transport sector is we need this model shift to the rail, and that's what we need to do. But voila, it's about coherence, a little bit about courage, to be brave, but for me mainly to be coherent now.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all great advocates here, so I think we understand that need for model shifts, and you have a good audience for that type of arguments, I believe. Thank you for your answer. I hope it fully answered your question, Frédéric. We're gonna move on to another question. This one is from Jacob, asking, can you give an insight into the technical dialogue and trilogue that's currently going on? So what are the most important points that are negotiated in the trilogue, and what would be needed as a result for these points to achieve a more European, efficient, and customer-oriented capacity management?
Yeah, I will read already a little bit on the situation of the trilogue right now. So now we are sitting there with a very motivated parliament, and we're sitting there, I feel also very motivated commission. So the trilogue, as the name says it, is representative of the commission, of the parliament and the council sitting together and trying to negotiate. And we have now the council who wants mainly this national guidance to be at the forefront, and so we are sitting there and trying to convince why it is so important to have this European view, why it's so important to have an independent body for the performance review. It cannot be that the infrastructure manager, who I totally respect for all the work they are doing, but cannot be that they make their own models, rules, and also implement them, and afterwards also assess them, evaluate them. So everybody understands that this is not a good situation. So that's why we need this independent performance review. We need more a European view, and that is the whole discussion we are having now. And I want the council really to go back and reconsider this. Yeah, for me, it cannot work if we don't make the European framework mandatory. So we need to make it binding, and not just, oh, it's interesting, but let's the member state decide. So that is all what we, and to say it in a short, that is all the challenge that we are facing right now. But it's not, because I don't want you to be now, oh my, are you so far away, the positions. I think, and especially also now with, I think I can say that with the Polish presidency, I have a lot of hope. I think they are very realistic, or they seem to very realistic on what is going on the ground. So, and I think the intention of all of us is the same, is to achieve the model shift to more rail. It's just a way to get there that we see it's still a little bit different right now. Yeah.
Okay. I think we talked a lot about like the differences between the council position and the parliament position, which are different, but you have hope, as we understood, which is good. We have a question from Laura now, which actually is, I think, a pretty good question. How do you ensure that infrastructure managers of non-EU countries also implement this regulation? Like, for example, transit countries such as Switzerland, in order to guarantee that continuous traffic that you've mentioned.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very important indeed. I mean, for me, Switzerland is rather an inspiration because the rail sector works quite well in Switzerland, to be honest. So I think it's very important that, and that is also a demand that we have in this regulation, that we work with all the stakeholders concerned. And of course, that's also with the close connecting partners. You speak about Switzerland, I could speak about Ukraine. So I think it's very important to connect, of course, also with those stakeholders. And what we want in this regulation is also a platform where the different stakeholders find their place and who are then also consulted. You speak about the neighboring countries, but I could also speak about the ports, for example, so the different terminals that we have. Also considering combined transport, we need to speak also with the people that are, to say in a simple way, that are working, that are repairing the trains. We need to speak to the ports. We need to speak to the I don't know now the name in English, but to the places where the combined transport, when you have it from the truck to the train, because let me be realistic, I know it's not that the whole transport via trucks is going to be deleted. That's not my aim. We know that to certain kilometers we still need the truck. So also to look at the moments where it comes from the truck to the train, when it comes from the vessel, from the ship to the train, and also considering, of course, the issues that we have when the train leaves the European Union territory. Would it be to Switzerland or would it be to other countries? So we need to have the different stakeholders around the table in order to connect and to talk with them too. So it's an important point. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I think you were talking about like intermodal stuff.
Yes,
and
yes,
yeah, we know that it's obviously it's not just trains. Like a lot of places you cannot even reach by rails. So indeed, this we do need coordination at every level and from the whole logistic sector, and not just rail. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let me have a look at the questions. We have another one about the council. Speaking about logistics, then, that's not a question from Jacob. I think it's going to be our last one. Let's see. So talking about support from the logistics sector, which countries' governments could be supportive and decisive to achieve this result with real improvements in the industry? Like, do you have any like opinions or gossip about who's really into this regulation and who's mainly against?
No, I must say I work now. Forcément, I work now mainly with the Polish presidency, and they are coordinating the work between the countries. But as the freight is per definition quite international, I think it's really cross-country. That a lot of the freight sectors in every country, I would like to say, are supporting the change that is needed to more European view and to more harmonization of the rules and to more interoperability, etc. And of course, an inspiration, as I said already, especially for the socioeconomic and environmental criteria, is Sweden. So there are some countries where we inspire and where we know they are pushing also for it and supporting it, and voila. And now my first encounters also with the Polish presidency, who play a key role now in the next weeks and months, give me hope. But now to say that particular countries, well, maybe I can say that I think that some countries, big countries like Germany, they want this national strategic guidance to be considered, of course. But I'm not against considering national strategic guidance. I'm just saying we need a binding European framework that covers the whole and considers the national strategic guidance. Huh?
Yeah, I think that actually the fact that the council is delaying and not truly aligned with the parliament is asking a lot of questions in people's mind. So we are probably going to take the last one is also going to be about that subject. It's from Julius. He's asking if the council's position could lead to actually more national rules or complexity, and could it be a possible result that negotiations and the initiatives ends and the existing rules stay in force? I would also add to that and ask, since there is a trilogue, does it mean that the regulation is going to be implemented in whichever way it's going to be, or could there be a possibility where it's just abandoned and because there is no consensus?
Not over my dead body, I will allow to go backwards. If the result, and that is what there I see the risk of the position of the council right now, is that we will have more fragmentation and more national rules. If they want to make the national guidance binding and not the European framework binding, then we have really an issue. And then clearly, okay, then I think the parliament must say, and I think then it's my job, then we are out, then we will not progress. My aim, but I'm still optimistic on it, because the common sense and what we really need and what the sector wants and so many people outside are waiting for this regulation want is more, I say it in a simple way now, more Europe, more harmonization, better coordination, especially on the cross-border. So I'm very optimistic that at the end, this perception will be shared also by the council. But if they will really stick to more nationalistic approach, then yes, there is a risk for more fragmentation. Yes, there is a risk that we withdraw this, because I don't want to go to have a less good situation that we have now with the corridors. So then we must say, okay, then leave it as it is. Then it's better we have at least what we have now, because there is a certain coordination already now. We want to make this more efficient, even better. But if it's not possible, then voila. But we are not there. But the risk is there. I'm very honest with you,
Yeah, there is always a risk, but still fighting, as I understand. All right, this is going to be the end of the question, the end of the webinar for now. If you have more questions, you have our contacts right here. You can either directly ask Tilly, you can also ask me if you also have questions about Eversense or the BrainTech Masterclasses or stuff like that. You can directly ask us. I'm quickly, here we go. I am quickly giving you a link here for our own company. We're doing a very nice event at the end of the year as usual. If you want to pre-register for it, please go for it. We have a lot of European welfare professionals coming, more than 100, and we always have very interesting speakers. Maybe we will see Tilly again at this party. We're hoping. Anyways, thank you very much for your time. Tilly, thank you very much for your insights and all your inputs. It's very interesting to have you and to have someone from the inside and to truly understand how it's working and where it's going. And we will definitely be following this regulation and where it's ending. So thank you very much for your presence.
Thank you for inviting, and don't hesitate to contact or to give me input or whatever. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you.
I will do my best.
Yes, please do your best.
We'll
continue. Wonderful. And thank you to the audience for your questions. They were all very interesting, and for your time as well. I will be sending the replay today, I think. And yeah, see you for the next World Tech Masterclass then.
Bye-bye to everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.